Welcome to Melt University. This series will help you build your brand, inform you on a variety of career paths, and introduce you to top executives in sports and marketing. Now, here's your host, the president and CEO of Melt, one of the largest independent sports and event marketing agencies in the country, Vince Thompson.
Welcome back, students. Virtual Melt University. We are rolling in to spring, finally. Rolling into daylight saving time and spring sports and spring football and swimming and college basketball. And hopefully soon we're going to get to the other side of COVID. I know you guys have, believe it or not, it's all been a year for us when all of our worlds got rocked. And my son Carter's a sophomore at Georgia, as I've said, and he's been going through the same things that we've all been going through. But in the spirit of silver linings, we've been able to have some tremendous guests and tremendous podcasts. And today is no different. My good friends, Hayes and Missy Johnson, who are an understatement of the year, some of the best people in the world and some of the best swimmers and some of the best Olympians in the world, in the spirit of hopefully the summer games being played this summer in Tokyo, hopefully. And met them, I think in 2018, which was unbelievable. It was over 3 years ago. But Hayes and Missy, welcome to virtual Melt University.
Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor.
We're so excited to be here.
We really appreciate it, and I was very excited about it because obviously you guys are just great people. Hayes, amazing swimming career at the University of Texas. Hook 'em horns. We love Texas. We love Austin.
You know it.
That's the right thing to say in this.
Well, I was going to say I know how to bake these crabs, but we've had a lot of great kids from the University of Texas, and great institution, and obviously one of the greatest collegiate swimming teams. Missy, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Rowdy Gaines was a classmate of mine at Auburn.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
And so when I was in sports information, I covered his career, and then he and I both were taking broadcast journalism classes together, and it was at 7 a.m. and he'd come right from the pool, and David Marsh, and it was just I gained such a great appreciation for the dedication that swimmers among all student athletes, had. And obviously, both of you, Hayes, captain of the team, great team. And then Missy, I think you've won 5 gold medals in the Olympics, just tremendous, inspiring stories, and the dedication that both of you, dual citizenship with U.S. and Canada, obviously swimmer of the year, and has won a total of 27 medals in international competition. But then when I met you, you were actually studying at the University of Georgia, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But before we kind of, and now you're translating, your success in the pool to business success. Interestingly, an app called Swimmingly, which is a virtual swim meet. And if you're not familiar with the industry of swimming, this is one reason we do the podcast, is to enlighten our students that, hey, there might be careers in areas within the Olympics or the swimming community or the sports community that they may not have thought about. We've uncovered a lot of these, but kind of before, and you guys are obviously, hugely successful in anything you do, but kind of before we kind of talk about where you see, all these opportunities going, but we always sort of like to throw things back to passion and in where you developed this passion for competition, where you developed a passion for excellence. Obviously, like I said, when I have been around the swimming community for a very long time, I've never seen, and we love to hire a lot of student athletes, particularly swimmers, the commitment that you have to make and your families have to make. But where, and I'll ask both of you this, kind of where did your original passion for sort of excellence and kind of competition, because you obviously got to be a great athlete, but it's a major commitment, and to get up and be in those pools at 5 a.m. For many years, and particularly with your parents supporting you and all that. But so where did this passion come from, and advice to students on how to continue to sustain the passion, particularly with what we're all going through now in COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a good question. And I'm so glad you bring up passion, because I think that that's just so important when you're considering what you want to do with your life and the impact that you want to have. And a lot of times, we talk about, you almost want to pursue what you're passionate about more than what you're talented at, because you can be so talented at something, but if you don't love it, if it doesn't spark that fire in you, then it's not going to take you where you want to go. And I think Hayes and I both experienced that throughout our swimming career, coming across those athletes that were so talented, but they weren't passionate. And you could see that in their work ethic and how they showed up every single day, versus the swimmers that would, wake up at 4, be at the pool before 5 with a huge smile on their face, because they loved it. And yeah,
Right.
It was hard and it was a ton of work, but they were passionate about it. And I think that that's something that's so amazing about sport, is it does teach you to follow your passion. And that's something that's helped me so much in transitioning into retirement and my post-swimming life into my work, is, all right, where is my passion? What am I passionate about now? I'm passionate about so many other things besides swimming. And now I really get to look into that. But it was swimming originally that taught me you have to love what you're doing every single day. And honestly, that's a huge part of sustaining it as well, is finding ways to keep what you're passionate about fun and entertaining, and to make sure that you're constantly open to growth. Because when you're open, when you're willing to learn, when you're willing to experience, all of that is just going to add to this incredible journey that you're on, and just getting better and better about what it is that you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I think that you guys have hit it on the head, and I mean, some of the greatest athletes in the world, but you don't really have to be necessarily an Olympic athlete to pursue that passion and pursue that excellence with zeal. And I think both of you can address this. And because one thing I was beginning to see in this newer generation, younger generation of employees coming out of college, is that they had an expectation that success was going to come overnight. And, I could say that, Hayes and Missy are overnight sensations. It was just a long night. And talk about, because, it's interesting, Missy, where you talk about, interesting at your age, to mention the word retirement. Mm-hmm. So you guys are having to find a new way to channel that energy and to channel that passion and to channel that discipline. But it doesn't matter who you are and what you're doing. Your advice to students is to, attack whatever it is with that passion, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's funny you bring up success, and everyone has a different definition of success.
Right.
And, failure, and I'm sure everyone talks about this, failure is a necessary experience if you want to be successful in your craft. Mm-hmm. And I think of success and failure as next door neighbors. And at any moment,
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, failure can range from disheartening to devastating, depending on the experience. And that pending fear of failure can really slap you around, but only if you allow it to.
Right.
And I think that everything that you have in front of you, whether it be an immediate success or an immediate failure, you're going to get back up. And I think one thing that swimming has taught us is to continue to be hungry. And, in the swimming world,
literally and figuratively.
Listen, stay hungry. I mean,
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because you think of swimming at the top level and you train, every single day, twice a day, 2 swim practices a day, a weightlifting session a day, all to drop 1/10 of a second, hopefully.
Wow.
At the end of the year.
And sometimes not even the end of the year. Sometimes it's every 4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and you don't think about that. But I think you hit on something. There's a couple of things you hit on, but in my book, I say, the great Gretzky says, I missed 100% of the shots that I've taken. And you look at you guys and you look at all your accolades, you look at all your successes, but wouldn't you say that you've probably learned more? It's nothing like being on the medal stand or All-American and all that, but you probably have learned more from your failures than you probably have had your successes, because everybody looks at you from the outside and, they see the Olympics and they see the ads and the medals and all that, but that's just a fraction of really the commitment to excellence and discipline that you've had to go through. But as I say, you don't necessarily have to be an Olympic athlete to translate that into whatever it is you want to be passionate about doing, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, I think wherever your heart is, wherever you're passionate about, like that's what you need to follow. And you can't compare yourself to anyone along that journey. I think Hayes and I are really unique in that our journeys were very different. I was a very early talent. So, my first Olympic Games, I was 17, and
Wow.
Hayes really didn't even get serious about swimming until he was about 15 or 16, and went along to swim at, the #1 men's collegiate swimming program,
Oh, yeah.
win an NCAA title, be a team captain, just all of this. So everyone's journey is so different. And I think
Right.
that's something that's so important to consider is you cannot waste time and energy comparing to where you're at on your journey with
Bingo.
someone else, because you are exactly where you're meant to be as long as you're following your heart and your passion and giving it 110% every single day.
Yeah. And I probably, and I wish I had that advice a lot earlier, is because I always put so much pressure on myself, and I always was like, well, I haven't achieved this yet, and this person's achieved this, and one day a dear friend of mine said, hey, look, you're doing just okay. Don't always put that additional pressure. Life's hard enough and that type of thing. And once I kind of started easing that pressure off, but in today's society, and you see all these fancy pictures on Instagram and all that, but you realize that's really that a lot of that is an illusion, and you have to fight not to let that influence the pressure on yourself, because I've been practicing my craft for 40 years and I'm still learning and doing new things, and COVID has pushed all of us out of our comfort zone and shedding our own skin, and I think that is very good advice. And you mentioned another thing that we hear from our great leaders that we've interviewed, is that a lot of the successful ones have a sort of a natural curiosity about life and about things that they're doing and about things that they're learning. And I think you could apply that to your swimming career, or, you guys had a certain lifestyle for a very long time, and all of a sudden you're in a different lifestyle. You're not training year round and all those types of things. So to push yourself into new, and I want to talk about this, kind of what you guys' plans are, but you have to have a natural curiosity to be able to push yourself out of these comfort zones, right? Because, it would be easy for you guys. You're staying within the industry, but you're basically a technology company disguised as a swimming company now with Swimmingly. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but talk about curiosity, because I think, you guys are at the age where you're going to resonate with our listeners.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important along with curiosity is, I think you're so right. It is so important to be curious, and especially like you were saying, to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. And I think a huge thing that comes along with that is learning right now how to take constructive criticism.
Oh,
I think really being open to that and learning how to take that in a way that you're truly going to use that to help you grow and to consistently ask for it. Don't just wait for that constructive criticism to come around. Reach out to people that have been doing this craft for longer than you, that know more, that have more experience. Get their feedback. Honestly, how do they think you can improve? What do they think that you can do to make those leaps and bounds? But I think that's something that all of us can continually can grow to be better at, is taking that constructive criticism. And for me personally, that was something that I really had to work on, because I'm such a people pleaser and I tend to take things pretty personally. And so that was something that at a very early age, which I was fortunate, I had to learn, this is nothing about who I am as a person. They're not trying to be mean. They're not like, they genuinely want to help me be the best version of myself.
Mhm.
And that has helped me so much throughout my entire career. And now where I am now, being able to be open to that kind of criticism and that help.
Well, I tell you this, some of my greatest professional regrets are when I took things personal and how I responded to it. And you don't really know what goes into somebody's rejection or telling you no, or you didn't win that job. And I wish that it early on, but how do you, because you don't know what factors into people's decisions and responses and reactions, but like I said, that one of my greatest regrets is I've learned over time, but how do you not take something personal, particularly with the level of training you guys were at? And, you had coaches that obviously, pushed you. They didn't tell you what you wanted to hear. And then I think that's a great thing about, the mentors that you choose. You don't want people to just sugarcoat and reinforce things.
Totally.
You want people to give you tough love, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think of my college coach as one of the best human beings to ever walk the face of this earth, Eddie Reese. And
yeah,
I honestly chose, one of the biggest reasons I chose to go to Texas was because of him and the way that he is able to shape and mold young guys. And one thing that he was just so good at was making sure that you excelled outside of the sport as well. And he would make sure that you understood what he was saying and why he was saying it. And I think if you can shift your mindset to, the saying, always be learning, I think that is going to help you progress in all walks of life. If you can transition to always be learning, you're going to start picking up skills that you thought that you might not be able to pick up ever in your life. And I think in today's world, you've got to be moving in that direction, because the way that the workforce is going, I think that the people that are always upskilling and they're always learning a new skill are going to be ahead. And I think it's just that type of environment in the workforce.
Well, it's funny, we've uncovered a lot, and you guys have been around in successful collegiate programs. You've been obviously around, the Olympics is one of the biggest broadcast experience in the world, but we've uncovered a lot of new opportunities. And like I said, a different way of thinking, like mental health is a major issue among, all young people and being shut in and student athletes and all that. But we've also, I interviewed Michelle McKenna, who's the CIO of the NFL recently, and she said rarely does she hire anybody now with a sports background. So she's like, hey, there's areas of performance and hydration and nutrition and statisticians and analytics and coding and AI and all that. And so, from the perspective that you sent in being, Olympians, former Olympians, and being in the quote unquote amateur / professional side of swimming in the Olympics, because the other thing that we tell our kids, Hayes and Missy, is that the college campus, and we'll get behind the COVID behind us, but is the ultimate professional laboratory. I worked my way through in sports information. So I was covering swim meets. I was writing articles about swim meets and Rowdy Gaines being an amazing, training for the Olympics. And in 1980, there was a boycott of the Olympics, and how did he overcome that? But from if students were saying, well, gosh, I never really thought about the swimming industry or the Olympics industry as a career path. I mean, where do you see those opportunities, now? Because, you don't just show up and swim, or you don't just show up and swim at the natatorium or college or, the Olympic trials or anything like that. I mean, there are a lot of people that make this thing go forward, right?
There's so many, and I'll speak a little bit this before Hayes jumps in, but I think, again, we really have different paths here. For me, my swimming, that was my professional career until I had to retire due to injury. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned, and that Hayes has really taught me and continued to enforce, is the importance of networking and really creating amazing relationships. And that's ultimately what happened with me, is that I retired and I had created such an amazing foundation of companies that I had worked with and specifically chosen because we had the same values, we had the same beliefs, because I loved the people that worked there, and we were family. So that when I did retire, instead of these companies just kind of kicking me to the curb, they said, all right, well, where do we go from here? You know, how do we continue to make this relationship work in a different light? And that's how I kind of moved into that different arena, is now I'm working for so many of those similar companies and some new ones, because of these relationships that I've created and maintained, you know, since 2015, which was when I turned professional before the 2016 Rio Olympics. And now I still get to work with companies that I love and that I'm so passionate about in just different ways, which I'm just so blessed to be able to say.
Yeah, I think on top of that, and of course, I was going to say network as many times as I possibly could.
Right.
But I think one thing now, with our company, and very much like you, Vince, offering a very cool internship program. And one thing that I do wish, looking back on my swimming career at Texas, I wish I had sought out internship opportunities.
Bingo.
Because, you know, where we were at Texas, and we had a great team goal to win NCAAs just about every year, and we had amazing goals. And another one of, you know, my pieces of advice would be to set goals and stay super focused. But the internship opportunities are such a great experience, even while you're in college. You know, if you even take a summer to seek out an internship opportunity, you're going to figure out where your interests lie. And not only that, you're going to be able to network in a way, whether it be Zoom or whether it be in person, networking events, all of that good stuff. That is one thing that I wish I had done a lot more of, for sure.
Well, you know, and here's what we preach, what you just, I mean, you read a page out of our playbook, is that I remember as a 20-year-old college student, SID, I'm driving Dick Vitale and Brent Musburger and Paul Feinbaum. I'm driving them around to, you know, their hotel and things. And now I'm, you know, they're my friends, and we have 40-year relationships, and we do business deals together. But I have a philosophy about relationships, is that a couple things. One, the first two letters of relationship are RE. The first two letters of reciprocal are RE. And people say, well, how do you have a 21-year relationship with Coca-Cola Company? I say, I never take the relationship for granted. It's like a plant or a flower. You've got to groom it and trim it and water it and fertilize it and give it sunlight. And that's any business, professional, personal, friendship, romantic, whatever it is. And to your point, and, you know, I observed this about you guys when I was around you, you know, you just treated everybody, you know, so kind and so humble. And I've seen that a lot from a lot of Olympic athletes. I've dealt with a lot of professional athletes, and sometimes, and professional entertainers and musicians. And sometimes I did not see that type of behavior. And I'd say to myself, like, I don't know if I want to do business with them again. But then, like, you know, when I got a call about you guys, and I hadn't seen you in 2 or 3 years, and hey, you guys are doing this company Swimmingly, I'm like, yeah, I love them. We had a good time together. It was 3 years, but we got on the phone and we picked right off where we were, and we brainstormed together, and talk about the networking is king. The follow-up is king. Knowing everything there is about your target, no matter what, you know, we say, and now, particularly with COVID and having to do interviews in a virtual environment or Zoom environment, we don't know when we're going to come back to the office. But talk a little bit about your, you know, because like I said, I was very impressed with, you know, how you managed when we were working on a Coca-Cola event together. But talk about sort of your philosophy, because you had this really, really commoner's touch to your relationship, and you know, at the level of success you guys have had, you could act any way you wanted to, but I just noticed just a warmth and a kindness.
Oh, first off, thank you.
I know,
mean,
seriously.
that's so heartwarming to hear, and it makes us feel so wonderful knowing that you felt that way. And I think that is something that Hayes and I share, is we want to make every single person we meet feel special, you know, because they are. It doesn't matter if you're an Olympian, if you've never played a sport in your life, whether you're someone we're working with in business, or whether you're checking us out at the grocery store. Like, we want every single person we come across to remember how we made them feel. And I think that is what lasts. You know, it's exactly like you were saying, you know, we hadn't talked in 3 years, but when you heard from Hayes, it was like, okay, you remembered how you felt when we were together. Right. And, you know, that's what lasts. And that was such a big thing for me throughout my career too. And why sportsmanship was so important to me, because I fully recognize that in sport, you know, records are meant to be broken. You know, names are going to come off record books, and people aren't going to remember that I went a 2:04.06 in my 200 backstroke, but they are absolutely going to remember that I gave them a huge hug after every single race, no matter what happened, whether I won or whether I lost. And that was always just kind of the base for me, is that no matter where I am, no matter what work that I'm doing, and I make a point of that, you know, when we're on commercial shoots, when we're doing interviews, anything like that, I go around and I introduce myself to every single person in the room. And that kind of blows my mind, the amount of times people say, you know, you're the first person that we've interviewed that's introduced themselves to the cameraman and to the audio and to all this. And I'm kind of sitting there like, I'm the first person? Like, what, like, how am I the first person to do that? Like, we're all here working together as a group. Like, we just want to start off on that same level as mutual respect and kindness. So I think, you know, when you go in there with that idea of, you know, you're all there to work together and to accomplish something together, and you want everyone feeling great walking away from that, then really good things happen.
Yeah, I think genuine curiosity, I know you brought up being curious, but genuinely being curious about another person. And one thing that I think of all the time, and everyone goes through adversity throughout their life, and you really never know what is going on in somebody's life at any given time. And I just feel that it's very important to reach out and stay connected and make sure that those people are good and okay. And maybe they need a new friend. I don't know, but you don't know where that networking opportunity will take you.
Well, you know, and I think during COVID, because I don't know if we'll be able to calculate the impact on society's mental health for many, many years, because everybody's experienced it, you know, in a different way. I mean, you know, and, you know, my business got, you know, I lost millions of dollars in revenue in 1 week. But I was like, you know, hey, I can't feel sorry for myself. I've got a, you know, family support and other people and all that. But I do think, I think you hit on something that really, really cool, is that you don't know making somebody feel special that day, if that made their day or they saved their lives, and that made an impact. And in putting that goodwill and putting that good karma and positive energy out in the universe, particularly now with technology and social media. And my old man he still says, you know, the ball turns in a circle 24 hours a day. You just never know where you're going to encounter them. But, you know, you don't know where that could come back to your benefit or to your haunt you. So, I mean, I think your core, you know, philosophy on building these relationships, making these people, you know, feel special, you really just don't know where it can come back to you, right?
Exactly right.
100%.
And I think so as we talk about, you know, everybody, I am a firm believer that I think, like I said, and God forbid this has been hard on all of us, and hopefully you hadn't lost any, you know, loved one to COVID, but I believe coming out of this, particularly for everybody, but particularly a younger generation, I think there's going to be this golden age and this renaissance of innovation and development. And I think that, you know, what you guys have developed with Swimmingly and how you described it to me. And, you know, I'm not, you know, I've been around parents who've had, you know, kids that were swimmers and youth sports and all this kind of stuff, but like, you were developing this technology, this app anyway, but then the COVID and particularly I think the sport of swimming last summer, and hopefully it'll be a little better this summer, was tremendously impacted just based on the nature of, you're in the pool together and parents are sitting in the stands together. But so what sort of, the company's been around, but how has the COVID sort of forced you guys to, we use the overused word pivot, but so, and give us some background and describe, what it is and how it's going. And I think this is a microcosm. If somebody wants to try something and they've always wanted to try it, now is the time to try it. Don't you think people's minds are more open?
I think so. And you're referring to Swimmingly, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. We started the business back in 2013, and that was an obstacle in itself. It's scary starting a company, as how long will your business exist? How profitable will the business be? Will customers like the product? So on and so forth. And so me and my business partner, we think that we've been very determined, very disciplined in our craft and refining our product. And basically what Swimmingly is, it is an app and software that starts times, judges scores, swim meets from your device. And so the old school way of swim meets goes paper, pencil, stopwatch, writing down a lot of time and data and having to manually enter that data somewhere else. And then hopefully having the ability to share those results. We have just completely automated that entire experience and making it a social friendly experience for every swimmer, coach, parent, everyone involved, really. And so we went from the majority of our business takes place in the summer. We work with, hundreds of leagues, summer swim leagues across the country, 43 states, 6 countries. Wow. And a lot of them are using this old school way of running swim meets. And, summers are great. We love working with them. They run traditional swim meets, and boom, here comes COVID. And so what that did really for the swim teams, most of them just did not run a swim season last year. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of them were thinking of this, idea, what is a virtual swim meet? And so this virtual swim meet experience was always on our radar, and we just had to quickly pivot and get creative and move it up to the forefront. And so the idea behind a virtual swim meet, in regards to, every swim team having restrictions of how many people can be on the pool deck and all of that stuff, the idea of the virtual swim meet is swim any team, anytime, anywhere from the safety of your own pool. And so basically what we built very quickly was this platform so that, Vince, your swim team could compete at your pool with your swimmers versus my swim team out here in Denver. And at the push of a button, the results combine automatically so that everyone can see them. Mm-hmm. And so one cool thing that we are doing this summer, because, silver linings, you always talk about, Vince, we are hosting the first ever summer swimming national championships. And our goal really is to include as many swim teams as possible, making it the largest swim meet in the world.
I think that's probably, when I first heard the virtual swim meet, I was like, man, this is a really, really cool idea. But think about it. Prior to COVID, if you'd have brought that idea to me, or you and I had taken it to corporate America, they would probably have, tossed us out of the boardrooms. And so what I'm seeing is that, people's way of thinking. And I've not been on an airplane in a year, and I never would have been able to, have had this interview, because you guys would have been busy all over the place. You probably would have been in Tokyo right now to be able to have this interview, or you'd be getting ready to go to Tokyo in some form or capacity. But now we can do this over a Zoom line, and we can record it, and we can send it out, and we can impact, we may just impact one life out of the thousands of listeners on this thing. But again, the way that people are thinking about doing business now and building and maintaining relationships completely being rethought. And like I said, with your generation and my son's generation, is that, you're the most sophisticated, there is. And so if somebody is reaching out, to you, Hayes, or you, Missy, I like to ask this of our guests, because there's in the old days, me and Rowdy used to have to go to the Auburn Library and get yellow pages as encyclopedias and reference books to be able to network with somebody. And now it's at the palm of everybody's hands. You have LinkedIn and all these things. There's no excuse that they don't know everything there is to know about you, everything there is to know about the businesses that you're starting and the different things. And what I coach is, though, leverage those emotional cues to get a Hayes's attention or Missy's attention. So what are things that, when somebody reaches out to you, because you hear from people all over the world because all of the work and success you guys had, but at the end of the day, what are things that get your attention, no matter if it's related to career advice or any type of advice, because you'd be shocked at still people who have lack of preparation and how they reach out to me sometimes. And then we're all busy people. It's hard to get our attention.
Without a doubt. I think preparation is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can very easily tell. And for me, it's always different. It could be a business, it could be a media outlet, but if they're reaching out and asking for a partnership opportunity or an interview, it is very clear, whether or not they've done the research and whether or not I'm even a good fit of for their company or for this interview, that what they want to do and what they want to focus on. And you can tell really easily right off the bat, if they've just done kind of the basic needs of going through and really deciding whether or not they think it's a great fit for both of you, or whether or not they just kind of want a quick in and out and be done with it. And those are always the things, like I was saying about, I would stray away from. I don't want those relationships that are just, we want to use you for this one thing and then be done with you. It's like, that's not how I operate. That's not how I work. So I think really having that preparation done in advance, and also, making sure that you're a good fit for each other, I think is so important. Doing your work to see whether or not you're going to be happy, whether or not you're going to fit in with the culture, with the values, with the people, so that you don't go through all of that and get to a new company and start a new job and realize, oh my gosh, this is nothing like what I thought it was going to be. And then you have to start kind of from scratch all over again.
Yeah,
I think chemistry is important, don't you? I mean, I think cultural and values fit. I mean, and it's really going to be even more important now based in a virtual environment, because you don't necessarily have those hallway conversations or sit down and go get a cup of coffee or something with somebody or look them in the eye. And so I think it's even going to be more necessary than not. And I think that you're right. And I think back to it not being personal, sometimes it's okay if there's not a fit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's how you find out what you need and what works best for you. That's how we learn. It's kind of like what Hayes was talking about earlier with failure, these kind of mistakes and kind of learning that, we may not be a good fit or a good match. That's how we know that when we do find our good match, like, oh yeah, this is it. Because, I didn't feel like this at the other place. I didn't get this same kind of feeling. So 100%, I think it's fine. And I think, again, doing as much as you can kind of in preparation for that to make sure you are putting yourself in a situation where there's a good chance that you will be a great fit. And then that wherever it is that you're going to be is a great fit for you as well.
Yeah, I think the 3 P's that I always like to say are preparation, purpose, and passion.
I love that.
You can quickly uncover what an individual is asking for or how excited they are to learn about an opportunity if they can project those 3 things.
I love that. So as we wrap up this great interview, because I know you guys are busy, but are there any like we get a lot of good sayings from our guests, or hey, this book influenced me, or this podcast, or is there any things that have kind of influenced, or you guys have had some tremendous coaches over time, and anything that kind of parting shots or words of wisdom you'd want to leave with our students as we wrap this up today that might resonate with them?
Yeah, I mean, mine is so overused and you hear it all the time, but it is so accurate in its representation of of my life and my career. And it's about the journey, not the destination. You
Yeah.
know, life is just too short. You know, you don't want to be looking at just the outcome and what you're going to be getting out of something at the end of the day. You want to be looking at how you're going to feel each and every day, waking up, going to do something, because that's where life happens. Life doesn't happen at the end of the road. It happens while you're walking along it. So whatever it is that you're doing, make sure that, you know, it's not just about choosing where you want to end up. It's choosing about, you know, who you want to be when you get there and what you want to experience on that journey.
So, so what we call, you know, I read that thing called the dash, right? It's like, it's what you do, you know, during, you know, your life, the dash.
Yeah.
And so, I think you're right. And so, it's just tremendous. What an honor to be able to talk to you guys again. So good. And looking forward to, kind of seeing where virtual swim meets go and where your careers go and you know where you go in your you know the post-career you know pursuits. Obviously just you know influence a lot of people in such a positive manner. So Hayes Johnson, Missy Johnson, Missy Franklin, greatest people in the world, you know, some of the greatest swimmers, brought so much joy to so many people. And like I said, just, you know, going to school alongside Rowdy Gaines and some of those guys and really just knowing the price you guys have paid and the sacrifices and all the hard work and the discipline. If our students can sort of take a fraction of that with that and combine that with that passion, no matter what they apply it to, I think they're going to be hugely successful. And I hope they take your words of advice and wisdom. So we really appreciate you guys joining the students of Virtual Melt University. And we hope that you have a wonderful spring and summer and that you hear from some of our great people.
Oh, well, we would absolutely love that. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Vince. It's been such an honor to be on, and you know, we'll talk to you any day.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. Well, we got a lot of fun to have, and we've got a lot of things to do. So I am here for you guys. Just let me know whatever there is I can do for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And just for all your amazing college students listening, just never forget to love what you're doing, love who you're doing it with, and love who you're doing it for. And life will be good.
Yeah, it usually will. I think we're all learning now that life is certainly not linear, and that might not be such a bad thing long term, you know?
Amen.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Vince. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Let me know how I can help you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Vince. We hope you've enjoyed today's virtual class. We'll be back soon with a new edition of Melt University 2021.